jump to the sky turns to a rider kick.
Hey everyone, I'm Colonel Gru, and today we're taking a look at the Hasbro Dinozords from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that recently came out. And I'm really excited for this because I pre-ordered this back in August and it took many weeks to arrive, and they're finally here. And this is also exciting because this will be the first time I'm reviewing dinosaurs on this channel.
Only 2 of them are dinosaurs, and this isn't the first time you viewed dinosaurs on YouTube.
What the hell? Who are you?
I'm a Poltergeist, and I have known you for a very long time. You had a YouTube channel in the past, and when bullies found out about it, they tormented you in school and online. You couldn't take it anymore, so you deleted it. Do you remember your first ever toy review?
Going to be my very first review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Lost World Jurassic Park Cyclops Velociraptor. What was that? Am I going insane? Oh well, let's just start by taking a look at the T-Rex. So here we have the T-Rex Dinozord, and this is probably the best one of the 5 individually. He kind of has that old school retro T-Rex design to it, and unfortunately they hollowed out the tail and it's lacking a lot of stickers and detail. The knees have these red Zord Builder looking pegs which are used to combine the legs. When you open the mouth, it reveals a pair of cannons, which is a really nice little detail that they had, which, to my knowledge, the only other Megazord release that had this feature on the T-Rex was the Soul Chogokin one, and the rest I think was just stickers. But the problem is that when you open the mouth, it reveals the Megazord's head, and when you close the mouth and you look underneath, you see the Megazord's face. It almost looks like a knight putting on a helmet or something. No, you know what it really looks like? It looks like one of those guys like in a T-Rex costume, and he just puts it over like a mask. I just think that's really silly, but it's also a big letdown on this Zord. As for the posability, as mentioned, the mouth can open and close, but the head can also go up and down. Limited movement at the arms. The legs have extremely tight ratchets, and you're going to hear the word tight a lot on this review. The knees can go in and out, and so can the ankles go up and down, but if you go too far back, the feet will fall off. But what really surprised me was the waist swivel on this guy, which is extremely tight, and most individual Zords aren't this articulated. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier, but all the Zords were sold in different packs. The T-Rex came with the Power Sword, the Triceratops and the Saber-Toothed Tiger came together, and the Mastodon and Pterodactyl were sold together. Next Zord we'll be looking at is the Mastodon. Now, the Mastodon was always my favorite of the original Dinozords. I just like elephants, and I always thought the big M's on the sides were pretty cool. But there really isn't much to say about this one, but this particular toy of the Mastodon I always found to be cute, because you can have the head rock side to side like it's dancing to music, and that's the only real articulation the Zord has. The trunk doesn't have any hinge joints, it's all made of rubber, and so are the tusks. But the legs and the feet have pretty nice detail on it, mechanical detail on it. But one thing I never liked about the design of the Zord is that you can pretty much see the hands in the back. I think the Soul Chogokin one had it covered up somehow. I could be wrong. I don't own the Soul Chogokin Megazord, and this is the only version of the original Megazord that I own at the time of this recording. But there's really not much to say, like I said. And before we move on, I forgot to mention that the legs can go back. At least the back legs can. But it's really, really stiff, and you can't really get much out of it, but it is possible often. It'll also move this back piece. Next up is the Saber-Toothed Tiger. Now, I always liked this one because I always got Voltron vibes from it. Now, once again, it's missing some detail. It's very plain on the back. And for posability, the tail can move, and to show this was a gun, the legs can go back and forth. They actually have a very wide range. The tusks can move for transformation, but the worst part is that the mouth can't open, and that's a big letdown. And I almost forgot the head can also look up, and it's really tight, and that's for transformation purposes. Next up is the Triceratops. Now this is probably the cheapest of the 5 Dinozords in this set. It just feels really hollow, and this is probably the most basic looking of them all as well. It's just a tank with a face. I always like the concept of this sword, but this thing not only can't roll with these treads, but they even go as far as to mold in these wheels for the extra teeth, and that just really makes me mad. As far as I can tell, the only release of the original Megazord with the Triceratops that can roll is the original toy. The Soul Chogokin didn't have it, and neither did the 2010 mold. So that's really strange, and also the gun is just molded into this one big piece rather than the twin cannons. With that, I can give it a pass because the Legacy/2010 mold did that as well, but this one's probably the most underwhelming, to be honest. Oh, and for articulation, the head can look up and it's really, really tight. Last but not least, we have the Pterodactyl. This one is just kind of silly looking, to be honest. It just looks like a flying chest with wings. And the nice thing about this and all the other Megazord releases that we've gotten before is that it comes with these little cannons for feet, so it can rest on this. But I just think it looks absolutely silly, but it does have some really nice detail in the back. I give Hasbro credit there. And also, for some strange reason, this Zord is made out of this squishy, I wouldn't say squishy, but this flexible plastic. And it just gives me a feeling that if kids aren't careful, this could break. And I'm not rough with my toys, I just display them, but it's just something that concerns me a little bit. And for articulation, wings can go up and down, the neck can move, and the head can move in a almost poking kind of attack thing you could do. Now, as silly as this Zord looks, when you put it on a Bandai Machination 5 stand, this thing looks pretty awesome. Now let's combine them into the tank mode. Have the tank mode, and I think this was pretty well executed. However, there were some problems I had with it during the transformation. For instance, with the Mastodon, when you saw me split it apart earlier in the footage, it was actually really hard to do the first time do it, but the more you do it over time it gets loose. And also the Pterodactyl was really hard to put on because you're supposed to spread out the feet here and line it up with these little grooves that are down there. But other than that, the transformation was pretty smooth on this guy. I always thought this was such a cool feature the original Megazord had. It's just so goofy but awesome at the same time. It just really captures the campiness of the original Power Rangers. But then there's was based on Zyuranger, which was a very serious season from what I heard. I never watched it. Is it good? Let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, this guy cannot roll because it lacks wheels, which is a big letdown, but the only Megazord tank mode that rolled was the original toy, since the Saber-Tooth Tiger and the Triceratops had working wheels on that toy. I really hope to get it one day though. Megazord sequence has been initiated. here we have the Hasbro Megazord, and while, as stated previously many times, the Zords are missing a lot of details and they look very plain, when combined this actually looks pretty decent. Just going to just do a quick full 360 around it. And one thing I noticed is that the tail is supposed to flip down on the previous versions of this Megazord, but this one just goes all the way up with the tail, so it's a little bit distracting. But I think this is not bad at all. I always like the design of the classic Megazord because it doesn't even look like a combiner at the top, and the only thing that indicates that it is a combiner are the animal boots. And that's something a lot of the old school Sentai Mecha / Megazords did back in the day, and I really wish we saw more of this in the modern era. And of course you can plug in the sword, sorry about that, and get the Mastodon shield. And I always like the Mastodon being used as a shield. I mean, that's one hell of a defense right there. Now for size comparison, here we have Jet Icarus, Galaxy Megazord / Gingayo, Kira Meijing, and the Jungle Pride Megazord / Geki Toja. Real quick for articulation, the arms can move, they can bend, you got a swivel, it can go out a little bit, and what's really nice is that if you put the tail down, you get that thigh swivel from the T-Rex. The legs can kick, and there's a false knee because if you do, it's like a backwards knee, and that just looks painful. So overall, this is a pretty decent toy based on the original Megazord. However, I only recommend it if you don't have the original toy, the Legacy mold / 2010 mold, or the Soul Chogokin one. Because if you already own those and pick this one up, you might be underwhelmed, and for the price point of $45, I think the price is a little steep. If this was $20, this would have been perfect. But for that price, I would say wait for it, or maybe get for your kids. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.